Ultramodern 5 is a color reboot of the Platinum Badge selling role-playing game with double the content of the original book, one of the most successful third-party 5th edition titles on the market. This new revised edition replaces all original black and white artwork with new color illustrations by Hugo-nominated artist Nick Greenwood. 5e Modern has returned with Ultramodern 5, introducing dozens of new classes, archetypes, and races, with hundreds of new items including power armor, guns, vehicles, and over 100 new modern sci-fi monsters. The Kickstarter funded in less than 48 hours and blasted through many of its stretch goals. Only 1 week remains for this campaign, so get in on it now. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from shrinking ships to shameful shopkeepers. And today we're talking about shifters.
All right, man. So we're back in Eberron.
Okay, can I try to guess what a shifter is just by the context of its name before we get into it?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think that would be good audio?
You know what? We're going to find out.
Okay, do they kind of like go from house to house, like just expecting to get fed and stuff?
No.
Okay, do they go from one plane of existence to another one?
Nope.
Do they change their like shape like a changeling?
Kind of, but not really.
They shift? They change bodies?
No.
They shift bodies?
They do not shift bodies. Do you really not know what a shifter is?
No,
I thought you did. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay.
Like just in the context of like people that get on trains and like go and like, see America, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so shifters, also sometimes called the were-touched, are animal-like humanoids that can trace their origin to distant human and lycanthropic ancestors.
Oh, wow. You know, maybe we have touched on that because
I feel like it's something that's come up, but I feel like shifters are kind of a forgotten race because there's so many really cool races. And I think shifters are awesome, but I do feel like they get forgotten a bit.
Okay.
So much like changelings, though, shifters have become their own unique species that breeds true and has their own culture and traditions very separate from either humans or lycanthropes.
Nice.
As their names would imply, and similar to their lycanthrope ancestors, shifters are famous for their ability to change temporarily, enhancing their animalistic traits to be more accentuated and exaggerated, and this is what they call shifting.
Okay, sweet.
So originally shifters were an exclusive race to the Eberron setting, introduced to D&D in the Eberron campaign guide of 3.5. 4e then integrated shifters into the wider lore and introduced them in the player's handbook too. 5e seems to have slid them back into Eberron specific, but I'm not really clear on that. But you can find them in the Wayfinder's guide to Eberron, so there it is.
Man, I need to get that. I really like Eberron.
Yeah, Eberron's super cool, and I really like Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron. It's a really nice book.
I think I have the PDF, but I should really like buy it.
Yeah. Shifters are very similar in height, build, and appearance as humans, but their physiques are more naturally lithe, flexible, and fit. Their facial features have a bestial cast to them. Things like larger eyes, flatter noses, more pointed ears, more prominent canine teeth these are like common traits amongst shifters.
So like animalistic, like touches. Yeah,
exactly. Fur-like hair tends to grow on nearly every part of their body, so they can be covered in fuzz. These, though, are all generalities, as there are multiple different tribes of shifters that descend from different kinds of lycanthropes.
Okay.
Thus, different animal-like features are going to be carried by and more prominent depending on which one they're from.
So there could still be like, you know how there are werewolves, there could be like wolf-style shifters, but they like are probably not a lot like werewolves.
Yeah, again, they're very different from lycanthropes, but you're exactly right. They're going to be like wolf-like shifters.
Or maybe like bears.
And tiger-like shifters, and bear-like shifters, and boar-like shifters, and etc. For every lycanthrope, for every whatever, there's going to be
a shifter
for it, style. For the most part, yeah.
Are there like birds? Are they like...
Generally not. It's generally mammals. Lycanthropy is really tied to mammals. Really.
I'm a whale shifter.
Yeah.
I just swim all day and then I become huge.
And I'm so big. It's so stupid. Okay, so each subtype of shifter has their own culture and idiosyncrasies, which we'll get into kind of for the most part. We're first going to cover the shifters in a very general sense.
Sure.
Okay, so shifters carry more than just animalistic physical features from their lycanthropic ancestors, but they also bear some overt psychological traits associated with their animal natures. This varies from subtype to subtype, but all shifters share three major aspects in their psychology. So the first aspect that all shifters share is their struggle with their naturally powerful emotional responses. Shifters have a very raw connection to their instincts that members of other races really just don't understand. They call this the beast within.
Okay,
and
dope.
The beast within fuels extreme emotions that strive to dominate their thoughts and actions.
Oh, wow.
This is a conflict of inner turmoil that all shifters must learn to cope with. And how it's expressed can vary. Some shifters can unleash their bestial aggression in battle and perform like berserker-like feats of strength.
Nice.
Some suppress their instincts to the point of extreme and remain stoic at all times, like just keeping everything really calm and controlled. Regardless, their emotionality is a challenge, and all shifters must face this challenge.
So they like meditate basically on it?
Some do. Some embrace it. Some try and invent it in different ways.
It sounds like some like struggle really hard with it. Like they know the social implications of popping off on fools, but they like can't help it.
Right. And you know, you role play this different ways, but I think if I were to role play a shifter who like suppresses it,
It's probably stressed the fuck out constantly.
They would probably talk in a very measured, calculated way. And when something does make them kind of snap, like maybe like really angers them, they just go berserk mode.
Yeah, like the floodgates open and all of a sudden they're in your face.
Right. But maybe someone who's like less suppressing it and more like kind of has it in check, but like isn't like actively suppressing it.
More like they're just being patient with themselves, I guess.
I would say like if it's just your average shifter, they're going to just be a bit on the emotional side. Like they're going to be angry probably easily, and they're going to like feel upset or sad or happy and elated, all very fluidly.
Super protective.
Yeah, I could see them being super protective. I think they would be a lot like Genasi, because the Genasi are very fickle and emotional in the same way.
I see.
They're very off the cuff and they're quick to change emotions. I think a lot of shifters would be like that as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that's their first like struggle, or the first major aspect of psychology that all shifters share. The second is shifters have a steadfast belief in the virtue of self-reliance. This philosophy is deeply ingrained in the shifter people and is likely due to a combination of their natural like animal survival instincts, like being self-reliant that way.
Yes.
And also the way the history of Eberron has really treated them.
Oh.
So due to their wildness and their historical connection to lycanthropes, shifters are among the most mistrusted and discriminated against people of Eberron.
The people of Eberron are some real xenophobic assholes.
I think that the creator of Eberron really created a fantasy world in which some of the more complex things that we as human beings deal with in the real world can be tackled in a fantasy setting. And I think personally, I think it's really fucking cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. You can do that with a lot of tact.
And you can do that with any fantasy setting. But I think Eberron, I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Keith something. But I think he really put thought into like the social structure of Eberron and like how people tend to act, especially in like, you know, old school type settings, like, in, you know, ancient days.
Like a medieval sense.
Yeah. And, you know, I just think it's really cool.
They're on like realistic. This technological precipice in Eberron, right?
They are.
So it's more like pre-World War I kind of.
Sure.
Is what it's. Yeah. That's just like the feel I get from it.
I think there's definitely some influence of exactly that there, and I think you're right. But yeah, so again, them being that on that level of mistrust and discrimination is actually pretty telling, because the Warforged and Changelings go through some pretty extreme discrimination as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have to reference from.
Right. Like I would definitely, I would rank them like this, where shifters are more distrusted than Warforged, but less distrusted than Changelings.
Okay. They're like in the middle.
So yeah, the fact alone, this fact alone is enough to push shifters to be the nomadic, self-reliant tribes on the outskirts of civilization that they are. But there's more to it. Recent history has been tainted by, how do I say this? Okay, recent history has tainted what little trust ever existed between shifters and the rest of society.
Something happened.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
62 years before the events of the last war, which that was that really big war between the five nations I talked about in the Warforged episode.
Yeah.
The Church of the Silver Flame launched a zealous inquisition to eradicate all lycanthropes on the continent of Corvair. They called this the Silver Purge. It lasted 50 years, and it managed to actually successfully eradicate lycanthropy from the continent. But during the early years of the Inquisition, the church not only failed to discern the difference between lycanthropes and shifters, but were in fact, they used shifters as easy targets to justify the purge and showcase its effectiveness.
Oh, no.
So there was a bit of a genocide.
That's like when Edison killed that elephant.
I mean, sure. In both cases, something died.
Well, he's just showboating.
Oh, okay, because I guess it was showcased for sure. The church did end up reversing its judgment fairly early on, but the damage had already been done. And quite frankly, the way the church ends up reversing its judgment kind of has its own connotations as well, because basically, a portion of the shifter people made a deal to help the church find lycanthropes in exchange for not including shifters in this eradication.
Okay.
But this leaves a bad taste in a lot of shifters' mouths, because even though shifters and lycanthropes are very different beings, in a lot of ways it did feel like the shifters selling out their own.
Okay,
and so there's this stigma the shifters carry around even amongst each other about the sellout shifters who betrayed the lycanthropes.
Oh man, weird. But they're just
really
trying to bring awareness, right?
What do you mean?
Oh, no, I guess, yeah,
It was basically sell out your cousins or we're going to kill all your people.
Right,
and,
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's we should have faced it boldly.
It's a complicated issue, and it's really sad. And that's what makes it such a cool setting, because that is something that probably would happen in an historical event.
Yeah, maybe I should have said post-World War I society, because they are after this big war, and
yeah,
there's all these social implications from the war, and
I
things
think
like that.
Very accurate. You're right. So because of all this, shifters live their lives in a constant state of readiness. A combination of survival skills, crafting skills, and a readiness for life's sudden changes and the need to move on to avoid danger culminate to form a philosophy shifters call preparing for the journey yet to come. Even shifters with permanent homes always have a pack loaded and are ready for travel.
Oh man, I was just going to ask. So they're not just physically ready to go. They're spiritual nomads too.
Yeah, very much so.
Wow.
Yeah. So the final shared aspect of shifter mentality is shifters' deep desire for personal freedom. Shifters believe that their reward for self-reliance is freedom to live their own life and make their own choices. As such, they're not fond of those that enforce their will upon others. Societal laws and religious dogmas ill-fit the shifter way of life. Always a minority race spread across a continent of 5 nations, shifters have always struggled with maintaining a racial identity or racial unity, a cohesive view of their own society and culture. And
they're constantly subjected to change, so it's hard to
they being the self-reliant free people that they are, they're not even well connected with each other a lot of the time.
Okay.
So there's just isn't this cohesive shifter culture out there. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's pack culture.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the changelings, who have the same issue in this setting, where there's not really a cohesive changeling.
They're divided themselves to help cope with their with their emotional state and situations.
Yeah, the reasons are different, but the effects end up being the same. And with the Warforged, they haven't been around long enough to form their own culture. So there's a little bit of similarity between the three. But as such, 2 different types of shifter communities kind of come to be developed. The first and the most common are small enclaves of shifters that exist within larger communities of other races, most commonly human. And the second type of shifter community exists apart from the rest of society as a whole. These can either be villages sheltered deep within uninhabited forests, or nomadic tribes always on the move in the wilds.
Okay.
But with that being said, I think it's time to take a short rest.
Let's take a rest and make it short.
All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the show. We're not talking about the last thing we're talking about the things our hearts do. Tell me about what our hearts do, Will.
Well, mine beats.
Yeah? And who does it beat?
What? No, I mean, it beats for me. It pumps the blood through my body.
Rhythmically?
Rhythmically, yes.
What else does it do, Will?
It also loves. I mean, I think that's the answer you're looking for.
And I know who it loves, and it's a big group of people called our audience. Thanks to everybody who knew that's around, that has come to listen to the show. If you're listening to this part of the show, I know that you're into it, And I'm really thankful for that. Like, it's a very skippable. I try to make it easy to skip. There's music cues. The video fades away if you're on that side of things. Like, because I know this is not everybody's thing. But if you are listening to it, thank you. I know that you hear me talk about how much we appreciate you, and we really do.
We really do.
And especially the people that hear it because you're hearing it. And that is important. So thanks. But like, we love everybody who's like turning on the show at all. So I want to love more people. Do you want to love more people, Will?
I do.
I have so much room in my heart for love. It's like a beholder's cavern in there. It's constantly changing. There's new hallways every day, and I want to fill it with new listeners. So if you guys want to help spread the word about the show, that would be so awesome. You can leave an iTunes review, a YouTube comment, a like and subscribe. Really anything of that nature. And to help incentivize this, we are running a contest right now. If you follow the Dungeoncast on Instagram, find the post that is associated with the Kraken Dice giveaway. You can win a 40 millimeter. It's like this giant metal D20. It's so fucking cool. Kraken Dice makes great products. We're going to give one away to somebody if they leave a comment on that post and tag 2 people in it. So thanks to everybody who's been entering into the contest and helping out. It's really helping visibility of the show to have like our Instagram account grow. But there's another way to enter. Will, can you tell them about that? Yeah,
the other way to enter is just get on Twitter and go ahead and share the Dungeoncast, like an episode with the hashtag Dungeoncast. And also, if you share an episode of SuperQuest Saga with the hashtag SuperQuest, those 2 different actions will count as 2 different entries to the same contest.
Yeah, lots of different ways. I guess there's 3 different ways to enter then in that scenario.
Indeed, there is.
2 on Twitter, 1 on Instagram. So thanks to everybody who's been participating. Best of luck. I hope you win a die. You know who I'm talking to. You know who you are. I hope you win it. It's everybody. I hope everybody can win. Only one of you can win. So with that, I think we're just going to keep this one succinct and get back to the show.
Indeed. Let's get back to the show. All right, Brian, we're back.
We've returned.
Indeed, we have.
Yes.
Talking about shifters.
Yes.
So because of their lack of social unity and their pride in self-reliance, most shifter communities lack any structured form of government. Shifter druids, known as moon speakers, are the closest things these communities have to leaders.
That's dope. That's a dope name.
It is. Moon speakers provide an invaluable role to shifter society. They teach old lore and histories. They guide religious and philosophical beliefs, and they travel between shifter communities, forming bonds between these communities, like well-needed bonds, because without these guys, there's basically nothing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So these moon speakers travel from community to community, spreading news and just kind of keeping everyone connected.
It would be cool if it was more literal and they like spoke to the moon and the moon like slipped them a 20. It's like, here, go buy your squad some lunch, bro.
Sure, man.
Thanks for the chat.
Absolutely. That's fucking hilarious. So those shifter parents are dutiful and loving. The nuclear family unit is not the cornerstone of shifter day-to-day life. Most shifters form their strongest familiar bonds with shifter peers of their own age. These small clan-like peer groups are important in cultivating the values of self-reliance and freedom shifters hold dear. The children's games that they play, games like Hunter and Prey, or they have a capture the flag type game called Hrazak.
Hrazak?
Hrazak.
Hrazak?
Hrazak.
Is it like HR?
Hrazak.
Okay.
These games actually are encouraged because they hone a shifter child's survival abilities from a young age.
Okay.
You know, stealth and tracking and, ambushing and all this stuff.
Sweet.
So those shifters are not known as great artists in Eberron. There are 2 art forms that shifters have perfected and are a source of great pride for them. The first are totem braids, which are intricate and exotic hair braids worn by shifters for expression, but also they tend to signify important things to the shifter wearing them. So like an oath taken or a feat accomplished or a symbol of luck or something like that. And they're supposed to be really ornate and beautiful braids.
Nice. Okay.
The second art form that they've perfected are shifter tattoos. Their tattoos are symbols that represent important experiences or ties to other individuals, and they are very complex creations that fall into 2 different categories. So there are morphic tattoos that are designed to shift between 2 different images, whether the shifter is shifted or not.
That's fucking cool.
It was really cool.
That's what we were trying to do for Persephone in Super Quest Saga.
I know it is.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then there are static tattoos, which are equally impressive because they are designed to keep their design intact regardless of shifting.
Nice. Okay.
So both very cool, and I think it would take a lot of skill and plotting to get those tattoos just right.
Is it like you have to fuse it with magic to make it happen? Is it like that sort of thing?
No, I think you would just have to be very particular about its pattern and.
So it's like, have you seen those art pieces that are like these metal frames, and depending on your like the angle you look at it is a different piece? Mm-hmm. It's like one of them looks like a snake and the other one looks like two children holding hands, and you just like walk around it.
Oh wow!
Is it like changing the like plate, like your body shifts, so the placement of like your skin and stuff like rearranges the image?
Exactly.
Oh wow!
That's exactly what it's like.
That's dope.
Or you make it so that the shifting of the skin actually keeps the image intact, so that things slide in such a way that the image stays the integrity of it. Yeah, I think it's really cool.
Oh, that must suck if you like you make it look really good in one form and it looks like shit in the other one. That's how you know
like,
a good tattoo artist from a bad one.
That's permanent. That's fucking hilarious.
You're gonna have to laser this off.
Yeah. So as one would expect, religion is not appealing to shifters. Between their distaste of being told what to do and the past crimes of the Church of the Silver Flame, it just isn't their cup of tea.
You're not the boss of me, God.
Okay. Most religious beliefs that shifters do have are druidic in nature. So shifters tend to just commune with nature, kind of bond with their bestial side, and it's just out there in the wild.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's why do they kind of like reminding me of centaurs a lot?
Well, I mean, they're both
like the nomadic. Yeah,
sure.
I don't know. Idealistically, they seem somewhat similar.
Yeah, I mean, they're nature people with animalistic traits. Like, yeah, there's going to be similarities for sure.
Okay.
So originally, shifters were presented as having 10 different subtypes, which is a shit ton. But now in 5e, it's been narrowed down to just 4. So the 4 beast types presented in 5e are Beast Hide, Longtooth, Swift Stride, and Wild Hunt. Each has unique stat bonuses and racial features, and each is also tied to different kinds of lycanthropes.
So it's they're like the animal relation specific per each one, or each animal specific. Like all the wolf shifters can do these 4 things. There's like 4 different kinds of wolf.
No. Okay, so like we'll use like a werewolf, I guess, connected shifter, a wolf-like shifter would probably be a long-tooth shifter.
Okay,
specifically.
I see. Or like a tiger would be a long tooth.
Yeah, a tiger could also be, but a tiger could also be a what are they called? A swift stride or a wild hunt. Like,
okay.
It varies a bit. It's not like a hard rule. It's just any given beast type will fall into one of these 4 categories.
Got it. Okay.
It used to be more of a hard rule. So it used to be in 4E, there was Longtooth, and that was specifically wolf-like.
Sure.
And there was Razorclaw, and that was specifically feline-like.
That's a lot cleaner.
It is a lot cleaner. Yeah.
But it makes sense for like, oh, you're Swift Strider tigers and you're Longtooth tigers. You know, like you're cheetahs and you're like a hunter.
Exactly.
Like well, they're both hunters. You know,
they're both hunters, but yeah. But cheetahs are more canine-like than feline-like. So yeah, I could see a cheetah being a Longtooth.
Be careful what you say about animals on the show, Will.
What do you mean?
Just like, do we really know what we're talking about?
Oh yeah, no. Cheetah's one of my favorite animals, and yeah, cheetahs are much more canine-like than they are feline-like.
Okay,
it's one of the big things about them. I trust you. For instance, their claws can't retract. They tend to form like family units, which is, I mean, it's commoner in large cats like lions, but honestly, between lions and cheetahs, I don't think there's any other large cats that do that.
You've convinced me.
Also, cheetahs are often paired with dogs when in captivity because it helps them acclimate to like other humans. I did
know about that. That was very popular on the internet for a long time.
Yeah. I like cheetahs. Anyways, let's get into shifter stats. So first, so the way shifter stats are kind of divided is like there's just the general like shifter stuff, and then there's the sub-race stuff. So
okay,
let's get into it. So all shifters are going to get a +1 to dexterity.
Cool.
Age, shifters are quick to mature both physically and emotionally, reaching young adulthood at age 10.
Like aminals.
Yeah. They rarely live to be more than 70 years old, though.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
It's not great.
About human.
Comparatively to, yeah.
Roughly human. Their walking speed is base 30. Of course, they get dark vision. This makes sense because, again, animalistic. They're going to get that dark vision like a lot of animals actually have in real life.
Okay.
Keen senses. All shifters are proficient in perception. Shifting. As a bonus action, you can assume a more bestial appearance. This transformation lasts for 1 minute until you die or until you revert to your normal appearance as a bonus action. When you shift, you gain temporary hit points equal to your level plus your constitution modifier. You also gain additional benefits depending on your shifter subrace, described below, which we'll get into in a minute. Languages. You can speak, read, and write common, so shifters don't have their own language or written language or any of that, which makes sense. They're descended from humans, so is what it is. So let's get into the 4 subtypes. The first one is Beast-Hide. Stoic and solid, a Beast-Hide shifter draws strength and stability from the beast within. Beast-Hide shifters are typically tied to bears or boars, but any creature known for its toughness could apply.
Okay.
Beast-Hides are going to get a +2 to Constitution. They're also going to get a feature called Tough, which gives them proficiency in athletics. And their shifting feature is whenever they shift, they gain 1d6 additional temporary hit points, and while shifted, they have a +1 bonus to AC. So a nice tanky build for the Beast-Hide shifter.
Okay.
Next is Longtooth. Longtooth shifters are fierce and aggressive, but they form deep bonds with their friends. Many Longtooth shifters have canine traits that become more pronounced as they shift, but they might instead draw on tigers, hyenas, or other predators. Longtooth shifters are going to get a +2 to Strength. The Fierce feature, which gives them proficiency in intimidation, and their shifting feature, while shifted, you can use your elongated fangs to make an unarmed strike as a bonus action. If you hit with your fangs, you can deal piercing damage equal to 1d6 your strength mod instead of bludgeoning damage normal for an unarmed strike.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So you can attack with your face.
Nice.
And as a bonus,
I always like that.
And as a bonus action, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, not bad.
Swift Stride is the next one. Swift Stride shifters are graceful and quick. Typically feline in nature, Swift Stride shifters are often aloof and difficult to pin down physically or socially. So Swift Strides are going to get a +1 to Dexterity and Charisma, which makes that original Dexterity bonus that they got at the beginning a +2 now. They're going to get the Graceful feature, which gives them proficiency in Acrobatics. Swift Stride, which gives them walking speed increase of 5 feet, so 35 feet. And their shifting feature, while shifted, your walking speed increases another additional 5 feet.
Okay.
Additionally, you can move up to 10 feet as a reaction when an enemy ends its turn within 5 feet of you.
Wow.
This movement does not provoke opportunity attacks. That's really cool. You're just super goddamn mobile.
Yeah. You're all over the place.
Swift Stride indeed. So the final one, Wild Hunt. Wild Hunt shifters are sharp and insightful. Some are constantly alert, ever wary for possible threats. Others focus on their intuition, searching within. Wild Hunt shifters are excellent hunters, and they also tend to become the spiritual leaders of the shifter community. So Wild Hunt shifters are going to get a +2 to Wisdom. A Natural Tracker, you have proficiency in Survival. Mark the Scent. As a bonus action, you can mark one creature you can see within 10 feet of you. Till the end of your next long rest, your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check to make to find the marked creature, and you always know the location of that creature if it is within 60 feet of you.
So you like skunk style musket.
Indeed you do.
That's disgusting.
I'm a skunk shifter.
This is disgusting. My mind went to a dark place when you started reading this.
And then their shifting feature, which is really actually kind of weak. While shifted, you have an advantage on wisdom checks.
Okay.
So I guess the Mark the Scent is more their thing.
I mean, that's
the
pretty
shifting
good.
part.
I want to fast forward Eberron 500 years and do like a spinoff of like these sound like high school cliques. Let's go to Shifter High and just like, oh, you belong, like you're new at school and you're trying to like fit in. You're like trying to find your abilities.
Yeah, Eberron 2020.
Eberron 2020. Welcome to Shifter High. You're gonna be a Swift Strider.
Stupid.
Swift Striders are the cool kids on campus.
With that being said, I think we're ready to take our long rest.
Yeah.
Before we go, I just want to share with the audience that we have a 5e live play called Super Quest Saga where we play Dungeons & Dragons, and the setting is a sci-fi setting and like a galactic. It's like a galactic space adventure.
Oh my God, Will, that was a secret. Oh wait, no, it's not.
It gets revealed in episode 2,
kidding.
so it is what it is. But yeah, check it out. The link's in the description, and we would really appreciate it if you guys give it a chance.
Will's the Dungeon Master.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
a Warlock.
It's
Our
true.
friends are a half-orc paladin and a Furbolg Druid.
Indeed.
They're very strong.
They are.
I'm really strong.
Indeed he is.
We're all very strong, which means that none of us are strong, really.
I don't know if I agree with that last part.
It depends on what you do, really.
Well, with that being said, I think we could call it a game.
Okay, bye.
And we'll talk to you guys later.
The Dungeoncast.